Hello everyone, you are listening to Scenecraft. From opening shots to long takes and epilogues, we examine our favorite scenes from cinema here on the podcast. I'm Cody, here with my fellow members of the French 75.
Mark.
And Connor.
You can find Scenecraft on most social media platforms at Scenecraft Podcast for the latest news on the show. Today we'll be discussing Paul Thomas Anderson's newest release, One Battle After Another. But as usual, let's begin with our brief What We've Been Watching segment, Quick Takes.
Speak quickly.
Quickly, thank you.
Quickly, come on. Hurry up, quicker.
Way quicker.
Okay, I'll say it fast.
What have you guys been watching?
All right, I'll kick us off here. So this first one was pretty highly anticipated. I think at least for Connor and I, Cody, maybe you too, you'll have to weigh in on this. But I saw Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues, which was directed by Rob Reiner, and it was released this year, 2025. The logline reads, "The band reunite after a 15-year break for one final concert." I think it's hard to overstate the impact that This Is Spinal Tap, the original film, had on cinema and especially comedies.
Oh, yeah.
And while it may not have been the first mockumentary, it's credited with popularizing the genre, and it's often considered one of the most influential examples. And looking back on it, I think Spinal Tap may have been one of the first films that Connor and I bonded over. Is that right?
I think that's right. I mean, we both loved it, watched it a lot, and it opened up this whole world of Best in Show, Waiting for Guffman.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I think it kind of culminated with us going to see Spinal Tap, the band, live on their Unplugged and Unwigged tour in high school at the Chicago Theater. I think it was in 2009.
Yep.
And we actually got to meet Christopher Guest and Michael McKean after the show.
I know. It's almost like unreal looking back on it. I can't believe that happened.
Oh my God. Was that long ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, crazy.
Yeah. So all that being said, the sequel had a lot to live up to. And I don't want the log line to fool you. It's actually been 41 years since the original was released, not 15. Here's what I'll say. It truly feels like reuniting with old friends when you watch this movie. There's like an instant joy in seeing these characters again, and that familiarity grants the film some goodwill. But unfortunately, I don't feel like the story itself quite delivers. It lacks the original movie's convincing documentary feel, and I never really felt fully immersed in the world. The plot beats kind of came off choppy, and there's just a limited range of settings in the movie, and it kind of robs the film of any momentum. A lot of it is spent with them in a rehearsal space practicing for the last show.
Okay.
And while the original film explored the band's struggle to stay relevant, this one briefly touches on mortality. And I think that's an interesting premise, but it never fully embraces it. What makes it interesting to me, at least, is that there's so many legacy acts that are still touring today. From the Rolling Stones to Paul McCartney, the new concept of an aging rock star is ripe for exploration, but this film only brushes past it. So it kills me to say Spinal Tap 2 does not really feel like essential viewing. I still think that fans will likely enjoy revisiting these characters and hearing those classic songs on the big screen again, but it's definitely far from perfect, even if there is some charm in the encore. I would give a light recommendation to Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues, for fans of the original film. If you haven't seen the original one, I don't think this one's going to win you over, but the film should be available for streaming, available on VOD by the time this episode airs.
Oh, man. I was so disappointed to hear that you didn't love it, Mark, when you first texted us about it.
Yeah.
I was like raring, ready to go see it in theaters, and it's going to be a stream at home watch for me. But it's just a bummer. I'm excited to spend more time in the world for sure. But
yeah,
I guess it's a tough act to follow, you know?
It was. Yeah. I was sitting in the theater with my Nigel Tufnell skeleton shirt.
Nice.
And I got a couple people commenting on it
That's
because
awesome.
everybody that was there, you could tell were big fans of the
We're
original.
fans.
Yeah. Speaking of sequels, I also watched Megan 2.0, which was directed by Gerard Johnstone, and it was released this year, 2025. The logline reads, 2 years after Megan's rampage, her creator resorts to resurrecting her infamous creation in order to take down Amelia, the military-grade weapon who was built by a defense contractor who stole Megan's underlying tech. It's Halloween month, guys, and I thought I would revisit this film because it kicked off this whole podcast. So
That's right.
I figured one of us had to at least comment on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We all had a great time with the original, so why not check out the second installment, right? So to my surprise, and for those who follow box office successes, this film massively underperformed.
Yeah.
And so naturally, I decided to play coroner/detective to figure out why it was such a misfire. But like I mentioned, first, my general reaction. I actually quite enjoyed this. The setup is patently ridiculous, but it fits perfectly with the film's campy tone, and it does feel like an absurd but fitting escalation from the first movie. At times, the movie's exposition-heavy dialogue gets in the way of its own fun, but its unhinged energy and its clever use of malevolent technology make for a memorable watch. I just like the way that it kind of creatively incorporates common everyday technology in these kind of sinister ways. If I had to submit a formal autopsy, I would say that Blumhouse Productions, the studio behind this film, may have overestimated the reverence for the original and overplayed its hand by pivoting unexpectedly from the horror genre into the bombastic world of an 80s, 90s action film. That being said, Megan 2.0 was still an entertaining romp to me. I thought it was a playful evolution of the first film. For all its flaws, I still think it delivers enough fun to justify its existence. I just think it may have been better suited as the fourth or fifth entry into the series rather than a direct sequel from the first one.
That's a good way to put it.
From what I can gather, it seems like Megan, the original, is kind of relatively unironically unaware of its campiness to some degree.
You thought so?
Yeah.
I think they're sort of in on the joke, but they don't ham it up and play into the joke too much. Whereas
That
Megan
seems more like the second one for sure. The tone of it.
Totally.
The second one is definitely, winking along the whole time. I don't know. I think it's an expectations thing too. I had heard so many negative things about it, so that definitely influenced my watching of it, but I was pleasantly surprised. So
Yeah.
I would recommend Megan 2.0. It's currently streaming on Peacock for those that are interested.
Cool.
What about you, Connor? What have you been watching?
So I had the chance to finally watch Mystic River, directed by Clint Eastwood, and it came out in 2003.
Wow.
This is your first time viewing.
First time watching. Yeah, I've never seen it
Wow.
before.
Oh,
So the logline is, the lives of three men who were childhood friends are shattered when one of them suffers a family tragedy. This movie felt like Eastwood wanted to make the most serious, dramatic movie possible with how many heavy topics it packs in. Murder, childhood trauma, pedophilia, mental illness, and that's just the opening act. It's one of those movies that's basically tailor-made for clips they play during Oscar nominations, with plenty of explosive outbursts from characters, memorable weighty monologues. You guys could kind of picture it.
Mm-hmm.
While it gets close to being almost funny with how seriously it takes itself, at times I found myself wondering, how much darker can this get? Oh, okay. The performances from Sean Penn, Robbins, and Bacon all do a great job of selling it, and I thought the setting of a working-class Boston neighborhood really grounded us in the gritty reality of these characters' past and present lives. It felt very real in that way.
Mm-hmm.
While I didn't love it, and I wouldn't say it's essential viewing, It's a solid dramatic mystery that kept me guessing, and it felt like I filled in a missing piece in my early 2000s Best Picture nominated movies list. So if you're interested in checking it out, Mystic River is available to rent on most streaming platforms or maybe watch on your next flight somewhere.
So we talked about Happy Gilmore 2.
Yeah.
The Happy Gilmore 2 line. I think for Clint Eastwood's filmography, we're going to have to use the Juror number 2 line. Are we talking better or worse than Juror number 2?
It's better than Juror number 2 for sure.
Okay.
Have you both seen it?
Yeah.
I feel like this may have been a Mark's Basement watch for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
The way I was thinking about it is like, this definitely fits in one of those serious movies your parents watch after it's like past your bedtime. You know, like one of those Oscar-worthy movies that you weren't really allowed to stay up and see. A lot of dialogue, you know, a lot of weighty conversation. But I'm glad I saw it.
Yeah.
I also saw Bugonia, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, which came out this year, 2025. The logline is, 2 conspiracy-obsessed young men kidnap the high-powered CEO of a major company, convinced that she is an alien intent on destroying planet Earth. I get to be a little smug here for a minute because I saw an early screening of Bugonia on the first full day of the Chicago International Film Festival here in town, and let the record show, I saw a Yorgos movie before Mark.
Sitting here with my arms crossed right now.
So this is Yorgos's first remake, adapting the 2003 South Korean film Save the Green Planet into an English-language absurdist black comedy which stars Emma Stone and our guy Jesse Plemons. I haven't really seen a lot of Yorgos's work outside of his 2 most recognized movies, The Favorite and Poor Things. I've probably seen the least out of us 3. But I really liked and enjoyed those 2. I did not enjoy Bugonia, but I will fully admit that I'm just not the intended audience for this. From what I've heard from mainly you, Mark, is that this definitely felt more like fucked up Yorgos, with a lot of disturbing, gory, and just plain weird moments. It's the kind of movie that makes you live in its own misery, and it seemed like more fun for Yorgos and his team to make, I think, than it was for me to experience. That said, it is a good movie. I'll fully admit that. It's well made and very well acted, with totally committed performance from Stone, Plemons, and the crew. Emma Stone is awesome in it. Without giving too much away, I found it to be frustrating as a piece of art, though, because it makes some interesting comments and observations on the polarization and isolation that we as humans are experiencing at the hands of the internet and social media, without ultimately taking a side either way. So for me, I mean, you can tell me that Yorgos makes these like really deep movies that are super smart, fully aware of their own meaning, but I think this one thought it was smarter than it actually was. So you guys can let me know what you think when you do end up seeing it. Bugonia is out in theaters Friday, October 24th, if you're a Yorgos head and you want to check it out.
So, I mean, a couple things. First, you should have just given me your ticket. Is what I'm getting from this. But if you feel like it's miserable, even if it's well made, and you don't like the fact that it doesn't take a side either way, then you probably won't like Bring Her Back or Eddington for that matter.
Yeah, which you loved both. So you're going to love this one too, I guess.
Yeah.
What about you, Cody? What have you been watching?
So I have seen this film many, many, many times over the years. I love it. I'm sure you guys have seen it many times, but today I want to spend most of my time allotment talking about The Matrix, which is currently in a venue in Los Angeles called Cosm. The Matrix was directed by Lana and Lily Wachowski, came out in 1999. If you have not seen the film, the logline reads, "A computer hacker named Neo discovers the truth that his reality is a computer-generated simulation created by machines that have enslaved humanity." The Matrix is still one of my favorite films of all time. It really holds up, I think. I just think the pure efficiency of storytelling is astonishing, and It's just one of the best sci-fi scripts ever written, not to mention the groundbreaking action set pieces and technology used to make the film. So, speaking of technology, I saw the film at this relatively new LA venue called Cosm, which is in Inglewood. And Cosm also has a Dallas location for anyone located out there. So Cosm calls its viewing experience shared reality, and that references its massive immersive screen and interactive activations that make the audience feel like it's a part of the show, whether it's a movie or live sports event. It combines stadium seating with plush booths and tables, kind of similar to, an Alamo Draft House, how you can, order food and drinks while you're seeing the movie. The coolest thing is just the screen itself. It's this partial dome shape. So it surrounds you, but it's not full 360. And why would you want full 360? That wouldn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. So the whole screen is LED. It's not projection. And here is how the experience there is unique. They displayed the movie itself in the center section of the screen in front of you. But then what they do is they surround the movie using the entirety of the dome screen with custom environments, animation, effects that match the shot or sequence on screen. So the best example would be like when Neo and Trinity enter the construct in the movie, which is that bright white environment, almost like blinding white, where they can load training simulations and weapons. Neo says the famous line in the film, "Guns, lots of guns." And then rows and rows of guns blow past them. So on the dome screen surrounding the movie, Cosm has recreated these racks of guns whooshing past them. So it creates this kind of immersive frame extension effect where you just feel like you're almost in the film, and it's just kind of creative and artful. It's a really cool effect. And there are dozens and dozens of these bespoke environments that they've created to give you a new way of experiencing the film. The Matrix is showing there until November 20th, and then the next film there will be Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, nice.
And that should be really cool. I'm curious what they do for the Chocolate River and how trippy that gets. But give Cosm a try, especially while the Matrix is still there. There's also something for everyone. There's sports, other movies to come. They do planetarium experiences, which is really cool.
That's
that
cool.
Students come in and
yeah.
I love what they're doing over there. So just wanted to kind of give them a shout out and talk about it. I ran long on that one. So one more thing I want to talk about really fast. Like you, Connor, it's kind of film festival season.
Yeah.
And I had a chance to see Wake Up Dead Man, directed by Rian Johnson. Saw it a little bit early. This is the Knives Out sequel.
I'm jealous you saw this.
It was super fun. So this is the third entry in the Knives Out series after Glass Onion. But I'll just mention that the Mill Valley Film Festival here in the Bay Area showed this film. It'll be coming out in theaters November 26th, around Thanksgiving. It's really fantastic. And for some reason, if you had any doubt about going to see it in theaters versus waiting for that Netflix drop, around the holidays, absolutely worth seeing in cinemas if you can.
Nice.
The movie is way funnier than I expected, which is just enhanced by the communal environment of seeing it. So that alone is definitely worth it. But it has such an amazing visual identity. It covers some really relevant themes right now. And truly, Josh O'Connor, he's amazing. It's his movie. He's a huge rising star and really carries the film. That is Wake Up Dead Man. I definitely recommend that everyone go see it over Thanksgiving weekend in the theater if you can.
Nice. One thing I can definitely second is how fun it is seeing Knives Out in the theater.
Yeah.
I was able to see Glass Onion as part of the Chicago International Film Festival when it came out, and getting that theater experience with everybody is a blast. These movies are so much fun, and I can't wait for the new one.
Yeah. It really plays to a crowd. It is well worth it just to get that energy. Watching at home would still be amazing too, no doubt.
Yeah.
But just a theater full of laughing people and kind of trying to figure out the mystery along with you, there's nothing like it. So yeah, I hope that it has a nice box office draw.
Nice.
I'm really excited.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. Now let's move into our discussion about One Battle After Another, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Chase Infinity, and Tiana Taylor, among many others.
Willa! Willa!
It's your dad, Willa. I need to find my daughter. You understand that?
Me and Willa's mom used to run around and do some real bad.
My dad told me she was a hero.
Willa!
You're in a lose-lose, maybe save your life position.
The logline for the film reads, "When their evil nemesis resurfaces after 16 years, a band of ex-revolutionaries unite to rescue the daughter of one of their own." Okay, so let's first start with our spoiler-free section, as we always do. I will start us off with my thoughts on One Battle After Another. I think out of the three of us, I was probably... I was one of those people singing its praises, you know, like, this is the best movie ever, and and setting those expectations, which make it, you know, hard for everyone else. But, you know, Paul Thomas Anderson, or PTA, as we will refer to him going forward, is easily my favorite living filmmaker, not a doubt in my mind. He has made 10 feature films, and in my opinion, he has a perfect track record with no misses. Some of his films are in the tier of my favorite movies of all time, and then other films of his are just one tiny step below that as movies I just love. I'd say that One Battle After Another will probably end up climbing into the top of that second tier PTA for me. Is it one of my favorite movies of all time? Maybe not, but I do think for me it is the best film of 2025 so far, barely edging out Weapons, and it's among the best of the past few years, at least, again, in my opinion. I originally saw the movie in IMAX 70mm with Scenecraft veteran and friend of the show, Samantha, and right as the movie started, we both heard this unmistakable loud flicker of the 70mm projector, and we just looked at each other and smiled ear to ear. We were like,
awesome.
Yes, like, we're here. You can just feel the texture of the film, and we weren't even sure it was going to be a 70mm print. We just knew it was going to be an IMAX. And so, yeah, I mean, getting that full floor to ceiling 1:3 aspect ratio was jaw-dropping. Particularly the winding chase scenes of the film later on. The movie was way funnier than either of us were expecting. I laughed, and then in the next moment, I was on the edge of my seat, and just so many emotions. And this is probably the most accessible film that PTA has made, in that it's a proper action thriller. It's got huge, impressive set pieces, a clear plot that makes, I think, what's a really long runtime feel tight. But at the same time, us PTA heads still get the unique verisimilitude that he helps his actors create, along with his textured visual language. And obviously we'll dig in more, but thematically, it's just so on point as we record here together right after the roughly 2,500 simultaneous No Kings rallies took place here in the US. I loved One Battle After Another. I'm a huge fan. I cannot wait to watch it again and see Paul Thomas Anderson finally get his Oscar in March. So Connor, let's hear. What did you think?
Nice. So glad you loved it. Yeah, I loved it too. Like I mentioned in my quick takes, I was in Europe for 2 weeks, and it happened to be right during the rollout and release of this movie. We left like right before it. So my FOMO was at an all-time high, watching basically everybody I know, or at least it felt that way, log this movie on Letterboxd, seeing all the press tour content and memes about it on Instagram. It was everywhere, and I really had to avoid all of it until I could see it for myself, which I was finally able to do this past weekend. I had a great time with it. I don't consider myself a PTA head by any means. I still need to see Hard 8 to officially see everything he's made. But for me, this one ranks up there in his top 5 best, behind There Will Be Blood, Boogie Nights, and The Master. and maybe Phantom Thread. I was seeing a lot of viral reviews ahead of the release, like you said, Cody, saying things like, this is the best movie I've reviewed in my 15 years of being a film critic. So do I think it lived up to all that crazy hype? No, I don't think any movie really could, but it is a great movie full of immediately iconic moments that I'm sure we'll talk more about in our discussion today. I thought it was very cool to see PTA's take on a high-pressure action thriller. For me, it felt like Punch Drunk Love meets Inherent Vice meets No Country for Old Men, set in an even darker alternative political timeline than our own. I caught it at the Music Box here in Chicago on 70mm, and yeah, like you were talking about, seeing that vertical framing on film was pretty magical.
Yeah.
I really wish I was able to experience it in IMAX like you said. Mostly, though, I was just grateful for the event of it all. With AI looming over the future of filmmaking, both in how movies are made and what kinds even get made, it truly does feel like one battle after another every time a great film comes together the old-fashioned way with this level of big-name creative firepower behind it. Sorry for the pun. It felt like too perfect. I really felt like that after watching it, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, this is great, you know, like I don't know how much longer they're going to make them like this.
Yeah, representative on screen and off screen for sure.
Yeah. Mark, what about you?
Yeah, you guys brought up some really great points. I thought this movie was really great. There's almost like a palpable excitement amongst cinephiles anytime PTA releases a new film.
Oh, yeah.
He's undeniably one of the greatest auteur directors working today. And I think it's because of his ability to explore complex themes and the powerful performances he's able to draw from his actors. And so I've never not been along for the ride. So this film runs nearly 3 hours. But its constant kinetic pacing really helps ward off any sense of fatigue. And I almost feel like it borrows the action is character development approach from Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
And it applies it to a modern day Western setting.
Yeah.
One aspect I haven't heard you guys mention yet is Sean Penn's character, Lockjaw, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit later. But he could have easily been a one-dimensional whack job. But Penn's performance, especially his use of strange physical quirks, makes the character come alive in a way that's just genuinely terrifying. And so I really do hope he pulls away with the best supporting actor for this role.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll end with this. Sometimes when we talk about films, we hear things like, this movie was ahead of its time, or this feels like it was 5 years too late. And it makes sense. There's so many variables in filmmaking: casting, budgets, location scouting. Productions often get bogged down by the minutia of it all. And as we'll discuss, this film was 20 years in the making for PTA, which makes it even more remarkable that One Battle After Another feels so rooted in the now while also carrying a strong sense of timelessness.
Yeah, well said.
Absolutely. Yep. Well, let's delve in further and move into our scene selection for the day, which we're going to call River of Hills. And as usual, beware of spoilers ahead.
Is there anyone there?
Yes, what do you see?
Spoilers! Right ahead!
Thank you.
Connor, would you like to give us the scene beats?
I would love to. So this sequence starts 2 hours and 15 minutes into the movie, and it runs for about 8 minutes. In a climactic chase scene, Willa Ferguson, her father Bob, and an assassin named Tim Smith from a white supremacist group called the Christmas Adventurers Club speed through the rolling hills of a desert highway, each in their own separate cars. Willa, played by Chase Infinity, is pursued by Tim, played by John Hugenocker, whose car is closing in fast as he hunts her down to kill her. Thinking quickly, Willa uses the terrain to her advantage, slamming on the brakes just beyond a blind summit, knowing Tim won't see her car in time to stop. It works, and Tim barrels over the hill, slamming into Willa's parked car in a violent collision. Dazed but alive, Tim crawls from the wreckage, only for Willa, hidden nearby, to take aim and shoot him. Moments later, her father Bob, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, arrives on the scene. Willa challenges him with an old revolutionary countersign to confirm his identity, and when he answers correctly, they embrace in a tearful reunion. And as we see at the end of the film, this is the moment that gives Willa the strength to carry on her family's fight and make it her own. And that's really why we wanted to talk about this scene today. I think, for me, watching this scene was one of those rare out-of-body experiences in the theater where as soon as it gets going, you know you're watching something truly special and original. Like you remember where you were when you saw it type of experience. Did you guys feel that same way?
Yeah, 100%.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was just like so happy watching it. As it started playing out and the river of hills come into play, I had a dumbass smile on my face, and it dawned on me what a perfect metaphor this river of hills was for the life of a revolutionary. Like, thematically, there's no end in sight. You can't see what's ahead of you or behind you, and it truly is one battle after another, where you have to take it one fight at a time. You can either keep running, or you can decide to face what's coming at you head on. The whole experience of the movie leading up to this point became clear to me, and it's this great climactic visual metaphor for Bob, Willa, and the French 75's fight against the unknown. I was like, oh, the title really makes sense in this moment when I was watching it.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And the scene also acts as a payoff and callback to a few earlier moments in the film. There's an early moment in the opening act where we hear Bob say, "From here on out, it's one battle after another."
Yeah.
So that, plays right into that. It just made me think of an Arrested Development moment, the Ron Howard VO of like, hey, that's the name of the show.
Oh, yeah.
And there's also this quick line from Sergio, who is Willa's karate teacher, played by Benicio del Toro.
Loved him.
Amazing. And when the cops are chasing after Bob and him, he says this great line, ocean waves.
Yeah.
And don't you guys think, like, the River of Hills scene, maybe it's stretching too much, but it feels like we're seeing those ocean waves kind of become reality for these characters in a way.
Definitely. It sure felt like that, watching this in the theater. It's like a lot of up and down motion, peaks and valleys. Yeah, all of that.
I think this is also logically the climax of the film. And so last thing I'll say before we get into production, but PTA had this interesting quote. In an interview with Dazed, he talked about how he wanted this moment to feel as the climax of the movie. Quote, "The film needs to build up to a very suspenseful climax that doesn't need a violent payoff. It needs an emotional payoff."
Yeah, it definitely feels like that, like the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not overly gory. I mean, there is somebody that's killed, but it doesn't really linger on
over
that.
the top. Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of happens and then they move on pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So obviously this sequence is packed with car chases, a shootout, and an action-driven storyline that matches its title. And I think it's safe to say that One Battle After Another is Anderson's most ambitious project yet.
Yeah.
With his highest budget to date of $150 million, this film costs about the same as his previous 5 films combined.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's
hard to
crazy.
believe.
Yeah.
But the money's on the screen, right?
You can see it.
Yeah.
And out of the 10 movies he's made, it's also the only one of 3 movies of his to take place in the present or near present. The others being Magnolia in 1999 and Punch Drunk Love in 2002. So in the 23 years since, he's only made period piece films.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's cool.
So going into the script writing process of this film, Anderson actually built the script from 3 previous movie ideas that he had. One was about a bounty hunter. The second involved a young female activist. And the third was an attempt to adapt Thomas Pynchon's 1990 novel, Vineland. If you look, the screenplay is actually credited as inspired by Vineland.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Anderson, he's talked about how much he loved Vineland and how nervous he was to adapt it because he loved it so much. I can only imagine the pressure, but
yeah, that's tough.
he kept the core of the story. an ex-revolutionary who ends up in the woods raising a daughter, and the past is coming back to haunt him. He said that he struggled for years to try to adapt this story, but he ended up deciding to keep what he loved the most, which was the father-daughter story at the heart of it. And you can really feel that in this movie.
Yeah,
I think he has
absolutely.
4 daughters himself.
He does, yeah. And I know that was really important to him, like why he felt like he wanted to tell this story. And I think it's pretty clear that he is a big fan of Pynchon as well, because Thomas Pynchon also wrote Inherent Vice, which Anderson directly adapted with his 2014 movie. So
right.
Yeah.
That one was like a direct adaptation versus inspired by.
Yeah. I've never read that book, but just watching that film and how complicated it is with its characters and meandering plot, I just find it hard to believe that Vineland could have been harder to adapt. But maybe it was the
true.
love I was talking about.
Like you mentioned in your general take, Mark, PTA has said that he spent approximately 20 years writing One Battle After Another. I mean, that's crazy. Developing the script over the course of 2 decades. He'd return to the project every few years, just keep, chipping away at it. And by the time he finished writing the film, he said he'd incorporated a variety of sources from that core story of Vineland to his own life experiences and observations from the past 20 years to form that final story. Mm-hmm. And one thing I thought was kind of funny as I was doing some research, I guess PTA famously writes his scripts in Microsoft Word, which he jokes is why it takes him so long to write these movies.
That's really good.
Yeah, it was good.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. The film was shot for around 100 days. The film actually had some of its final days of shooting with this scene, the River of Hills sequence in particular, in May 2024. So putting together the dozens of locations on this film, and I don't know if you guys felt the same way. I had this out-of-body moment when they were in the kind of like El Paso, Bachton Cross fictional town, and they're jumping across rooftops. And I just thought in my head, like, the line producer or the locations team, this is a nightmare.
Yeah, like, how did they do this?
The scouting and the actual management was led by location manager Michael Glasser and production designer Florencia Martin. And as Florencia describes it, we get a great tapestry of California in this film.
Yeah.
So their scouting began as early as 2022, and we see locations like Eureka, El Paso, Sacramento, Lompoc, and as we'll discuss, these long stretches of desert road near San Diego.
Nice. Yeah, and as we start getting into this scene specifically, was looking into how they came up with this scene in general, because it is so great, so original, so iconic. How do you like come up with this after an amazing array of car chases through movie history? This one really feels like it stands out.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes down to the location. And one thing that I thought was super interesting from what I've read is that they went into production without knowing the exact ending of the movie, which ultimately became this amazing pulse-pounding car chase scene. So, like, how did they do that? Like, does that mean they figured it out during filming?
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because I read an interview with Rolling Stone where PTA and Leonardo DiCaprio talked about filming the scene. And essentially, PTA needed a dynamic way to move the accepted main character of the film, Bob, or, Leonardo DiCaprio, toward the real protagonist, Willa. And so during a location scout, they stumbled upon these rolling hills that made for a perfect suspenseful car chase. Fast driving with no visibility ahead or behind, like you mentioned before, Connor.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't fully planned, but the landscape really did help shape the scene itself.
Yeah.
And they also talked about coming up with the moment at the end of the scene between Willa and Bob.
Yeah.
And they ended up reshooting it. And that was because after they had seen the dailies from the previous day, they realized that there was more they could do with it.
Okay.
So getting a little more into it, the goal of this scene was to give Willa a moment of power, to take agency over the situation by no longer being the one pursued, but instead becoming the aggressor and defending herself. And on a thematic level, she's literally forced to pay for the sins of her mother and father. And so through this journey, she comes to understand who she is, which leads her to ask Bob, who are you? And when he responds, I'm your dad, she's faced with a choice to either accept or reject that connection, because at this point she knows that he isn't her biological father. So ultimately she chooses to embrace him. And what's so remarkable about this pivotal moment is that it came together organically through rehearsals and on-set discovery.
Yeah.
That's really interesting because in watching it, when she screamed after she, shoots Tim, and Leonardo DiCaprio's character Bob comes around the corner, and she would recognize him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But she's kind of in shock and she's yelling, who are you? Like you said, Mark. I was sort of thinking to myself, like, she knows who he is. Like, what are you
threw me off
about?
Too. Yeah. It took me a second to realize. Yeah.
But the way you explain it, Mark, that it's almost on the level of like, who are you really?
Right.
Because you're not my real father as I thought.
Uh-huh.
And my life has been a lie to some degree. And she's been discovering that throughout the course of the film. So it's kind of that acceptance that you're talking about. Like, he is her dad, even if it's not, the biological monster that Lockjaw was to her. So it's pretty cool.
It is.
I think we would be remiss if we did not dig in a little more about the actual what they call the Texas dip in the River of Hills section of where they shot, because it is such an astonishing part of the sequence and of the film. So PTA has referred in interviews to this stretch of winding desert road as, quote, a gift from the movie gods. And I love that, because that is what it feels like. They are so distinct. And I'm curious as to how they actually found these hills. What was that location scouting process like, and how long were they looking for,
I would add to that, how has nobody else found this before?
Right.
Well, that's what I was curious about. So I did some digging into that. And like we've talked about, the production team called this stretch of road the River of Hills. Right. And it's situated near Highway 78, just outside of a town called Borrego Springs, California, north of San Diego and west of the Arizona border. Basically, picture it like right near the bottom middle of the state of California. You have an image of that in your head.
Mm-hmm.
It sounded, like you were saying, since 2022, they were driving around and looking for something for years to try to get the right stretch of road that really sparked something creatively, like we've been talking about. Have either of you guys been around this area before?
No, I've been to San Diego, and I've even been to like Palm Desert, Palm Springs, which is, north of this, but never this area. But it makes me want to visit.
Yeah, me too. So Florencia Martin, production designer on the film, was the one who actually found the location. She was scouting in Blythe, California, which is like right on the Arizona border, and then came across what would become the epic setting of this chase scene. She said they instantly felt how special and magnetic and unique it was when they were driving through it. She had some great quotes. It's a lot of studying the architecture of the road and working really closely with Paul and cinematographer Mike Bauman on time of day and directionality. Mm-hmm. Then the most satisfying scene is the car chase at the end in what they call the Texas Dip, which is in Borrego Springs. It's this huge dip down and back up, and that just seemed like the way to punctuate the moment. So we call it the River of Hills, that highway. Paul is someone who likes to do a lot of camera tests, so you try to come in with everything, with as much information and planning as you can, but also leaving some room to explore.
Nice.
And Mark, I feel like you would love the name, the Texas Dip. Am I right by saying that?
It's like eerie you should say that. That's exactly what was going through my head right now. It's like making me kind of hungry too.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great name for this stretch of road.
Yeah. And as we kind of zero in visually on the elements of the scene, we have 3 cars chasing after each other in the sequence, and the style of each car could be seen as representative of something about each character. So Willa, she's obviously in the front car, a white police spec Dodge Charger LD Interceptor, which was formerly the car belonging to Avanti, the bounty hunter that she takes it from. So the modern Charger represents a form of power and aggression in that it's clearly a police-style vehicle, but in this context, it is weaponized by the revolutionary resisting against its former owner and what he represents in a way.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Tim, the assassin from the Christmas Adventures Club, which I audibly cackled out loud with Samantha, like as soon as that name was brought up. So
Yeah,
good.
It's so goofy.
So Tim is chasing after Willa right behind her in a blue modern version of the Ford Mustang GT 500. His car represents the debased and powerful forces of the antagonist, driven by a bitter and outdated ideology. It's sort of like a soulless copy of a, quote unquote classic hero's car in a way. And then Bob, car number 3, is far behind both of them in a purple, compact, older Nissan B13 Sentra. The car is significantly outmatched by the modern muscle cars in terms of raw speed, and it does offer this stark contrast to the intimidating American muscle cars. To me, it offered a bit of a sight gag amidst a tense sequence. It's like the way the motor is just sort of squealing. It can barely keep up or make these hills.
Yeah. And one thing I thought was pretty cool, PTA being such a student of film and carrying that mantle forward for the next generation. This scene is a pretty direct homage to the 1968 movie Bullitt, which is typically thought of as the best car chase scene ever put to film. And that's right down to the cars they use in the scene that you just talked through. So, like you said, Cody, the chase features a battle between a Ford Mustang and a Dodge Charger, but with a thematic twist. So it's a nice spin that he's put on it. In Bullitt, the hero drives the Mustang and the hitmen drive the Charger. I think location-wise, the chase also recreates that sensation of hilly San Francisco in Bullitt by using this really dramatic hilly desert road that we've been talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Adding to that, one thing that I found kind of fun in the research of this scene was that PTA and his stunt coordinator, Brian Mocklight, blocked each sequence with Matchbox toy cars while they were prepping for the action. So I thought that was kind of fun. Just like a childlike way to kind of plan for that, but also pretty practical.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah. And then how do we shoot these cars?
Right.
How do we shoot such a tense action sequence? Working under cinematographer Michael Bauman. And PTA, I believe, is also quite involved with the camera department on his films. But cinematography on the film, buckle up, because this is where we get, push the glasses up your nose and we get a little technical.
I love when you say that.
Me too.
So
the glasses are up.
Here we go. Whoop. And this film was shot on 35 millimeter with VistaVision cameras by cinematographer Michael Bowman. So according to him, roughly 70 to 80% of the movie was shot on VistaVision, with the remainder shot on Super 35 for more intimate scenes. And I was mostly seeing that was due to the distracting noise that the VistaVision camera makes. It's quite loud, almost like, an IMAX camera as well. And cool thing, actor and cinematographer Giovanni Ribisi, you guys probably, you recognize him from things like Avatar. He's kind of the evil corporate overlord guy.
He's also from
Avatar.
Friends. Yeah.
He's in Friends. He's in Sneaky Pete.
Okay.
He's more of a cinematographer these days, and he actually just shot Strange Darling, I believe.
Oh, okay.
But he is known in the industry for collecting and refurbishing old cameras and kind of helping preserve technology. So it was actually his VistaVision camera that was mostly used for One Battle After Another.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, if you stay for the end of the credits, you can actually see he received a special thanks.
That's really cool.
So everyone in connection with this movie is using the VistaVision buzzword. And what does that actually mean other than just like an old brand name? So without getting insanely in the weeds, it is a film format that was introduced by Paramount in 1954. And this was part of an effort to compete with CinemaScope, which I'd say was more popular at the time. You know, many people have heard of CinemaScope. It's that classic widescreen format which 20th Century Fox introduced at the time. And then B, to get people back into movie theaters since the advent and increasing popularity of home television sets. Kind of like what we're facing now in a way, like theaters and technologies and production companies needing to compete with these massive in-home setups. But here's how VistaVision works. So 35 millimeter film normally runs from its magazine where it's held through a camera gate vertically. VistaVision modifies the camera gate to run film horizontally through the camera instead, and I guess that allows for a higher resolution capture with finer grain. So it's more about like the image space, the resolution you're capturing. It's just a clearer image than like the standard 35 millimeter shooting format of the time, which was much improved, you know, in later years. But so VistaVision is not a common format. In fact, the last time a film was both completely shot and projected in VistaVision was back in 1961 for the film One-Eyed Jacks.
Okay.
So I don't know if you guys remember this, but last year's film, The Brutalist, it was actually shot entirely in VistaVision, but it was not printed and projected in that format. Brady Corbet opted for 70 millimeter film prints instead.
Okay.
VistaVision projection is not as common.
Yeah.
So One Battle After Another is the first film since 1961 that offers VistaVision projection, but it is only available in 4 theaters worldwide for this film at least. So 3 of them are in the US, and then the 4th being in London.
Thanks for clearing that up. Yeah. No, I honestly, I was a little confused because I remember talking about VistaVision when The Brutalist was out, and I wasn't sure the distinction between... Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of talk associated with One Battle After Another being like the first one in, 60 years or something. And that makes sense. It was projected in VistaVision.
Yeah, in those 4 theaters. And then obviously you had different versions of the print, IMAX 70 millimeter, 70 millimeter, instances of digital. So it's all different types of projection offered.
Yeah. And I was wondering, the general question might be, why does this matter?
Right.
And first off, it's an auteur filmmaker resurrecting a really rare film format in an increasingly digital world. So I think that is always worth celebrating.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
This particular format does bring out a certain look, a certain crisp clarity, capture of color. It's kind of hard to put it into words, but you just know it when you see it. And I could definitely feel that weight and texture when I was seeing it, 70 millimeter at the Music Box. And here we are today with a really great looking film and a niche but continued interest in the celluloid process, thanks to filmmakers like PTA, Steven Spielberg, Brady Corbet, Ryan Coogler, Wes Anderson, and Giovanni Ribisi. So the list goes on, and it's really cool to see the craft being really poured over by all of these filmmakers.
Yes. Yeah. It gives us hope. Like you said earlier, Connor, in this age of AI slop, it's very, very hopeful.
Going back to the analog.
Well, before we move on to a different subject, I just want to bring in one really cool detail. There's a long lens shot where you can actually make out the pebbles from the road's asphalt.
Yeah.
And if you guys recall, they kind of come in and out of focus, and it creates this real sense of tension because as an audience, you really don't know what to focus on. I don't know about you guys, but I immediately clocked that sequence. I stored it away in the back of my head as just like, whoa, this is something extraordinary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very unique.
In an interview with the Screen Show podcast, PTA pointed out that this shot was a great example of staying open to the collaborative nature of filmmaking. So after finding the location, PTA used his iPhone to roughly map out the shots he wanted. And apparently that's a really common process for him when he's making his films. So while they were reviewing the footage, it was noted that the iPhone's autofocus feature was shifting between the foreground and the background. And so first assistant camera, Sergius Nafa, he picked up on this and he began performing these incredible focus pulls to the foreground as the hill came into view. And it wasn't originally what PTA had envisioned for the sequence, but he decided to let him try it. And he quickly realized that he was onto something special. Yeah. So it's a small moment, but he kind of points it out as one that perfectly captures how spontaneous choices and the collaboration between the entire team can really elevate a scene in unexpected ways.
Nice.
Yeah.
So one thing I was curious about too, I mean, we've talked a lot about cinematography, the way they've shot it, the location. I think the other amazing thing throughout this entire scene is the editing, like the way that they're able to keep the pace, really ratchet it up in terms of the tension and then just like keep that tension going right up to the climactic moment. Could you tell us a little bit more about the editing, Cody?
Totally. Editor Andy Jurgensen, who also cut Licorice Pizza, he has been on PTA's editorial team ever since Inherent Vice. He needs a huge shout out here because he somehow made a 3-hour film feel like a tight 90. And that's due, I think, in part to his ability to maintain that momentum of the film you're talking about, Connor, through his editorial process with these peaks and valleys, as he has put it in recent interviews. The River of Hills sequence is a perfect microcosm of that idea. He's first cutting solely to Willa, who is anxiously checking her rear view and side mirrors as she quickly speeds along this road. And then as her eyes dart to one of the mirrors, Andy cuts to that mirror where we can see the desert behind her. He's really clever about using Willa's glances and eye contact as a motivation to cut. And at the same time, he's also inserting those amazing POV shots looking out at the road ahead, again, putting us in the front seat of this roller coaster ride. And then, as soon as we see the glint in the rearview mirror of Tim Smith's Mustang approaching Willa, we get more added anxiety there. His shots are then cut into the mix. And then we get Bob's Nissan Sentra appearing last, so yet another person being added. So we get this cycle of driver, mirrors, road. It's now kind of repeating and rotating between these three people that, editor Andy Jurgensen has to worry about, creating this kind of tension and anxiety. It all comes to a head with Willa parking the car at the top of the Texas Dip and her killing Tim at gunpoint after they crash. So at that point, the pace of the scene grinds to a halt, using the desert atmosphere and that sudden halt of Johnny Greenwood's score and the roaring motors, or in the case of the Sentra, this kind of like pathetic motor sound. But that allows us as the audience to breathe again. You hear the silence of the desert.
Yeah.
And, that interplay between image and sound, I think that may lead nicely into the music of the film.
Yeah. So One Battle After Another marks Anderson's 5th film with Johnny Greenwood performing the score. So
that's a lot. I didn't realize there was that many.
A lot of movies made together. And so they definitely have this working relationship, which I will go into a little bit. But Johnny Greenwood, obviously a member of Radiohead, the lead guitarist, and he has kind of an established career as a composer as well. He was given the script ahead of time, and he starts to compose the songs and score based off of that. And in an interview with Forbes, PTA stated that they would watch the dailies along with the score Johnny wrote so that they would get a sense of the tone.
That's cool.
And it would allow them to know what the tension was going to be and then what they would have to do in order to sustain it. So it was a really helpful process for them in visualizing the future final cut of the film. In this scene in particular, there's 2 music cues I want to directly refer to. So the first one I want to talk to is called River of Hills. Imagine that. Obviously the name of the scene we're talking about today, but it's the official name of the cue in this theme. And it starts with this steady, stiff, high-pitched snare drum, which evokes a militaristic feel to it. And maybe this is a reference to Lockjaw.
Yeah.
But it's accompanied by these staccato string elements that really increase the tension. And to me, it sounds like they're modulating or drifting out of the central key of the piece, which just kind of gives it this feeling of unease overall. The other cue I wanted to talk to is entitled Trust Device. And this plays once Bob and Willa are united back together. The Trust Device is an electronic scanner that's used in the film that allows two individuals, each holding their own device, to find each other. It's a really clever way to visually depict an instant level of trust between characters. And Greenwood's score plays with this concept in what I would call a call and response manner. Now, I couldn't find the official sheet music online, but I tried to recreate the initial lines of this music cue on guitar. And I believe that all the initial notes are the same, but played in different octaves. So we kind of start with these two lower synthesizer notes in the left channel. And then immediately it's followed by a higher pitch note on the right channel, and that's played up an octave. So same notes, just different levels of pitch, essentially.
Yeah, it almost kind of reminded me of like Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yes.
A little bit like that like
Yeah.
yeah yeah like,
Yeah, it kind of has like an alien feel to it.
Yeah. We just really, really should quickly mention Chris Scarabosio, who is the supervising sound editor over at Skywalker Sound on the film. He and his team did such a great job in this scene. There's so much in the movie, but speaking to this scene,
yeah,
just the roar of those motors and the cuts to each shot and how like each motor has a different character to it. So it helps orient us as to like where we are in the geography of the scene. And then again, playing with that like loud chaos versus the silence of the environment. It's all just so well done.
Yeah, it really is.
In tandem with the music. Yeah.
So let's end on performances, which are really the heart of any PTA film because they are so idiosyncratic. I think we have to start by talking about Chase Infinity as Willa.
Yeah.
So this is her debut feature film in a role that feels like she was just born to play.
Amazing.
She was phenomenal in this, loved her performance, and I think she absolutely steals the show in many of the scenes she's in. It's a very physical role as well. I mean, she's doing a lot in here from karate, from the fight scenes with Sean Penn's character to shooting a rifle, driving a car during this chase scene while her hands are in handcuffs. I mean, she just does it all so well.
There's this one, like the two shots of the sequence that kind of stand out to me are when she first gets in the Charger and quickly speeds away. Her hands are bound, but the way she kind of like flips the wheel around with her hands bound, like she's done it 1,000 times before. And it's like,
I know
she as a character has been trained for this moment. If she were to ever be like captured or kidnapped,
she's capable.
Yeah. And then obviously when she shoots Tim, she's even practicing like, you know, a safety trigger finger, like not having it on the trigger, but it's like above the trigger. And then she decides to shoot, and it's all very convincing.
Yeah, and it sounded like a really long, in-depth search to find Chase. And PTA, who has 4 daughters, like we mentioned, has said, I mean, as you can imagine, there was a lot of pressure on him from his household and his family to find the right person for this role of Willa and this, you know, this role model, this young woman.
Yeah.
And that's really the lens that he put on the whole search. He said Chase reminded him of his daughters and felt like a person who would be friends with them. But most of all, with her incredible talent, her real emotional awareness, and like we said, physical abilities to do everything she has to do in the film, he said he was just very interested to spend a year filming with her and connect with her as a human being, which is
nice.
Just really nice and thoughtful.
Yeah, so let's move on and talk about Leo. His performance as Bob Ferguson, he's kind of the source of comedic relief.
Yeah.
As the film goes on. He has a lot of these laugh out loud moments, and he plays this washed up, disheveled revolutionary living in a drug-fueled paranoia. And you really feel that.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big contrast compared to where he was at the beginning of the movie, where he's on top of his game. He knows the explosives like the back of his hand. And then as the time goes on, he's basically become like a reclusive version of the dude from The Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
This disheveled stoner that still has this charisma and charm about him, but is kind of like a very, very lame version of his former self.
Yeah, I'm predicting a lot of Halloween costumes with the bathrobe and sunglasses.
It's going to be easy.
Yeah,
the sun.
Yeah, I think this was such a great role for Leo. I loved how he was central to the action in every scene he's in, but he's also kind of incidental to it. Like, he messes up the sensei's plan for extracting him in the Battle of Bactan Cross by like falling off the roof and getting arrested. And then when Willa is being captured by Lockjaw and put into the car, I thought like, oh shit, like, he's got a rifle. Maybe he's a great shot and he's going to get Sean Penn. Like, nope, like completely misses him. Like doesn't save his daughter. He's also in distant third in the car chase scene in a way slower car and shows up on the scene after Willa, has already saved herself. But he's constantly contending with the fact that he and Willa are paying for his past decisions. And in this scene, he really, I think, realizes that he can't save Willa from the dangers that he barely managed to survive himself, but he humanizes his character by showing his devotion to his daughter, which brings this really heartfelt girl dad quality to the portrayal of the character.
Absolutely.
What did you guys think of John Hoogenacker as Tim Smith? I know it's not like a huge role or anything, but
it's funny because the Christmas Adventurers Club, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's called. It's so satirical that it almost feels out of place in this film, because I feel like a lot of the film is pretty grounded in reality, and so it felt almost a little too over the top at times, in my opinion. But I thought he did a great job as embodying this character. He's kind of like a force to be reckoned with.
I think the way that he was able to play such like a cold-blooded killer, like the way that he shoots Lockjaw, pulls up right next to him, it was very surprising. Like, you see this really unassuming character when he's called in, and we don't yet know what level of fixer he is until we see how capable he is on the road, like the way he can drive his car and just really methodically eliminate people. That was pretty chilling.
Yeah, and at the same time, does not have the good sense to, check and confirm if Lockjaw was dead.
True.
He's that overconfident in his ability, which maybe says something about, the organization he belongs to. So
yeah, or says something about Lockjaw. I mean, this is a guy that you like have trouble keeping down.
Yeah. Man, let's talk about Sean Penn's performance.
Yeah.
I kind of mentioned it in my general take, but
oh my God, the MVP.
It's been a while since I've been really taken by a performance from him. I don't know. I just feel like it's been a minute since I've seen him in something this striking.
Yeah, I mean, clearly being an Oscar winner, being a world famous actor, being one of the most talented actors living, I would argue, he can choose his roles, right? I mean, he doesn't need to.
He's got nothing to prove.
He has nothing to prove, and clearly saw something in this role and made it his own.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, his walk was just, it just said so much about his character. And there's the one scene where he's using like a comb in the elevator.
Oh yeah.
There's just like this overcompensation and his constant need to kind of like ooze this like masculinity that he just embodies so perfectly in this film.
Yeah, his intensity is like cranked up to 100. Like it's like his body can't contain how intense he is, and he's like bobbling in a weird way, or like the way he's moving. It's like you don't know what this guy's going to do next, and it just feels so unpredictable being in a scene with him.
Yes.
He's not stupid either. I mean, when we see him performing the paternity test during this scene, or I guess the scene right before it, you can tell he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like he's very capable of doing it. When he's trying to pitch himself to join this club, there's this sense that is what would make him make it in his own eyes. You know what I mean? Like that's the level he wants to reach. And so as terrible of a person as he is, you kind of understand the motivations that would propel somebody like this person to 16 years later search for these ex-revolutionaries.
So one quick story I read that I wanted to share I thought was super funny. Do you remember the scene a little earlier on when Bob is meeting Willa's friends for the first time and he like grabs the kid?
Yeah.
He says something like,
"Yep,
whatever you do to my daughter, I'm going to do to you." Like I'm paraphrasing a little bit. Apparently PTA took that from something Sean Penn actually said to somebody who was dating his daughter or like taking her out to a dance. And I just loved that was real.
It seems so specific.
Yeah. I would be petrified if I was that kid. So funny.
And I think we just have to mention the very shot that I think this scene that we've covered ends on is the reveal that he's alive and is walking through the desert.
Oh my God.
Completely bloodied.
That like
which is an amazing
was a
shot.
Huge jump scare for me. I 100% thought he was dead, had no doubt.
Yeah. And when they showed him alive, I'm like, okay, for what purpose? Like, why would they do this? I know, I know the film's coming to its conclusion. I'm like, he had a pretty fitting ending, like a blaze of glory in his own mind kind of thing. And so I'm like, why would they resurrect him almost literally to continue? And then you see kind of like the epilogue of this film and you're like, oh, yeah, that's even better.
That's way better. And it, again, just to round us out here, speaks to that general theme in making the film, in the film itself, for the characters and the revolutionaries, on the French 75 side. And then as well as, I don't think we can deny for the militaristic side that this is all one battle after another, including for Sean Penn. He lives to see another day until he's killed in the worst way that he could probably imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is clear that everyone who put in all of this effort and time and love into making this film also were fighting one battle after another. It has been so fun to talk with you guys about this movie. I'm hoping it goes down as one of the best of the year, and hopefully we're reconnecting in March of next year and seeing it get some awards love. So
I'm sure we will. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you guys for your thoughts. It has been so fun to talk about one battle after another, and thank you to our listeners and fellow movie enthusiasts for reliving this scene with us. Do you have a favorite scene from One Battle After Another? You can email us at contact@scenecraftpodcast.com with any of your thoughts or comments, or follow us on most social media platforms at Scenecraft Podcast for any scheduling updates and news. You can support the podcast by leaving us a review or star rating on your platform of choice. And a very special thanks to Jordan Summerlad for our theme music. This has been Scenecraft, where we break down the craft behind our favorite scenes. See you all next time.